trash bag landed at my feet with a soft thud, my clothes spilling onto the marble floor of what used to be my home, just 3 hours after we buried my father. "You need to leave now, Vivian?" Marissa's voice was honey-coated poison, her designer heels clicking against the floor as she approached. "The will is quite clear. Everything belongs to me now." I'm Vivian, and this is how my stepmother threw me out after my father's funeral. The morning had started with rain, fitting for a burial. I'd stood there in the cemetery, watching them lower Dad's casket into the ground, while Marissa played the grieving widow perfectly. Black Chanel suit, delicate tears that didn't smudge her mascara, gracefully accepting condolences from people who had no idea who she really was. "You can't just throw me out," I said, my voice shakier than I wanted it to be. "This is my childhood home. Dad wouldn't—" "Your father," she cut in, "left everything to me, the house, the accounts, everything." She pulled a folded paper from her purse. "Here's a copy of the will if you'd like to see it, though I doubt you can afford a lawyer to contest it." My hands trembled as I picked up the document. The words blurred before my eyes, but one phrase stood out. "I hereby leave all my worldly possessions to my beloved wife, Marissa." "This can't be right," I whispered. "He promised—" My mind flashed back to the hospital, just weeks ago. Dad's thin hand gripping mine, his voice weak but determined. "I'm sorry, Viv, for everything, for letting her come between us. I'm going to make it right." "Make it right?" Marissa laughed, the sound echoing through the foyer. "He made it perfectly right. For me." She gestured to the trash bag. "Those are your things. Whatever else you left here belongs to me now." "My mother's jewellery. Estate property." She smiled, touching the pearl necklace at her throat. "My mother's pearls. Like this." I felt the rage building, hot and thick in my throat. But Dad's last words to me rang in my ears. "There will be a reckoning. You just have to wait for the lawyer to call." "Fine," I said, picking up the bag. "I'll go." Marissa's perfectly plucked eyebrows rose in surprise. She'd clearly expected a fight. "Well, how mature of you." I walked to the door, then turned back. "You know what Dad said to me? In the hospital?" She rolled her eyes. "Some deathbed dramatics, I'm sure. He said there would be a reckoning." I met her gaze steadily. "Said I just had to wait for the lawyer to call." For just a second, something flickered across her face. Uncertainty? Fear? But it was gone so fast I might have imagined it. "Get out," she snapped, mask cracking. Before I call the police, I walked out into the rain, my mother's old Honda Civic waiting in the driveway. As I threw the trash bag in the trunk, my phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Noelle. "You okay? Need a place to crash?" I typed back quickly, "Yes. And yes." Another buzz. This one from my Aunt Christine. "I'm so sorry, honey. This isn't what Victor wanted. Trust me." I sat in my car, watching the rain trail down the windshield. Through the front window, I could see Marissa already on the phone, probably calling her friends to gloat about her victory. She'd played the long game, married my father 6 years ago, slowly poisoned our relationship, isolated him from family. But she'd forgotten something important, something Dad taught me when I was little, before she came into our lives, before everything went wrong. "Always read the fine print, Viv," he'd say, reviewing architectural contracts in his home office. "The devil's in the details." I started the car, Dad's voice from that last hospital visit echoing in my head. He'd been so weak, but his eyes were clear when he squeezed my hand. "I know what she did, Viv, what she's doing. Just wait for Orlando to call. Promise me you'll wait." "I promise," I'd said. Now, pulling away from the house, I touched the small card in my pocket. Orlando Newton, attorney at law, Dad's lawyer for 20 years. Marissa thought she'd won. She thought that trash bag was the end of my story. But Dad had promised a reckoning, and I had a feeling Orlando's call would be coming very soon. "You need to stop calling the house." Marissa's voice crackled through my phone. "I've already sent you the will. What more do you want?" I paced Noelle's small apartment, clutching my birth certificate photocopy. My original documents, my passport, Mum's photos, they're in Dad's study safe, and you know it. Everything in that safe belongs to me now. The smirk in her voice made my blood boil. "But I'll make you a deal. Stop harassing me, and I'll mail you copies of whatever you need." Copies aren't legal documents, Marissa. Then sue me. The line went dead. Noelle looked up from her laptop, where she'd been searching property records. That went well. I collapsed onto her couch, which had been my bed for the past 3 days. She's loving this, playing with me like a cat with a mouse. More like a snake with a mouse, Noelle muttered, then turned her screen toward me. Look what I found. Dad's house was refinanced 2 years ago. Marissa's name isn't on the deed. I leaned forward. What does that mean? It means something's fishy. Why wouldn't he put her name on it if he planned to leave her everything? My phone buzzed. Another email from Marissa. This time, a scanned copy of what looked like an older will, dated 3 years ago. Her name was everywhere in the document, while mine appeared only once. To my daughter, Vivian, I leave my sincere wishes for her future happiness. That's it? Noelle read over my shoulder. No money? No property? Nothing? I closed my eyes, remembering the last real conversation I'd had with Dad. It was a month before he died, the day everything changed between us. I'd gone to the hospital ready for another awkward visit, but something was different. He was sitting up, looking more alert than he had in weeks. Sit down, Viv, he'd said, patting the bed beside him. I need to tell you something. I perched on the edge, maintaining the distance that had grown between us over the years. Okay, I've been a fool, his voice cracked. I let her convince me you were the problem, that you were jealous, difficult, unwilling to accept her, but I saw her true colours last week. What do you mean? He shook his head. Not important now. What's important is this. He reached for my hand, the first time he'd initiated contact in years. I'm sorry, baby girl, I'm so sorry. And then he'd hugged me, really hugged me, like he used to when I was little. We both cried, 6 years of pain cracking open between us. Viv? Noelle's voice pulled me back. You okay? I wiped my eyes. Yeah, just remembering something. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Hello? Vivian? A man's voice. This is Orlando Newton. I was your father's attorney. My heart stopped. Yes? I need to see you about your father's estate. Please come in. Alone. I gripped the phone tighter. When? Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. And Vivian, don't tell anyone about this meeting, especially not your stepmother. After I hung up, Noelle was staring at me. Well? Dad's lawyer wants to meet. I showed her the text with his office address. Tomorrow morning. Finally. She jumped up. Want me to come with you? I shook my head. He specifically said to come alone. Mysterious. She grinned. Maybe there's a secret will, or evidence Marissa's been embezzling, or nothing, I cut in, trying not to hope. Maybe he just needs my signature on something. But I remembered Dad's last words again. There will be a reckoning. My phone buzzed one more time. Marissa again. Since you're so interested in documents, here's another one. The deed to your mother's lake house. Also mine now. I'm thinking of selling it. I showed Noelle the message. She swore colourfully. She's trying to hurt you, she said. Get under your skin before whatever's happening tomorrow. I know. I took a deep breath. But Dad said to wait for the lawyer, so I'm waiting. That night, I barely slept. I kept thinking about that hug in the hospital, how Dad had whispered, I made it right, Viv. Just trust me. Tomorrow I'd find out what right meant, and maybe, just maybe, Marissa's smug smile would finally crack. Orlando's office was exactly what you'd expect from a lawyer who'd spent 30 years handling old money. All dark wood and leather-bound books. But the man himself surprised me. Instead of some stuffy suit, he was wearing jeans and a casual blazer, his salt and pepper hair slightly messy. Coffee? He offered, gesturing to a chair. Please. He poured 2 cups from a French press on his desk. Your father loved this blend. Brought me a bag every Christmas. Colombian dark roast, I said. He used to make it every Sunday morning. Until Marissa switched him to tea. Orlando's voice had an edge. He sat down, pulled out a thick folder. Speaking of your stepmother, I understand she's been assertive about her inheritance claims. I snorted. That's one way to put it. She threw me out with a trash bag of clothes. Did she now? He made a note. And I assume she showed you the will from 3 years ago? Yes, the one where she gets everything. Orlando smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Your father came to see me 3 weeks before he died. He was weak, but very clear-headed. He wanted to make changes. My heart pounded as he opened the folder. This, he said, is your father's final will and testament, dated 18 days before his death, properly witnessed, notarized, and completely legal. He slid it across the desk. You might want to read the highlighted sections. My hands shook as I read. I, Victor, being of sound mind, hereby revoke all previous wills and testaments. To my wife Marissa, I leave a monthly stipend of $2,000 for a period of 5 years. All remaining assets, including my primary residence, business holdings, and the lake house property, I leave to my daughter Vivian. I looked up. Is this real? Very. Orlando leaned forward. Your father also recorded a video statement explaining his decisions. Would you like to see it? I nodded, not trusting my voice. He turned his laptop toward me and pressed play. Dad appeared on screen, sitting in the same office. He looked tired but alert. Viv, he began, if you're watching this, I'm gone. And knowing Marissa, she's already tried to claim everything. He smiled sadly. I was blind for so long, honey. She isolated me, turned me against you, all while planning to take everything we built. But I caught her. The details don't matter now, but know this. She showed her true colours, and I saw them clearly. I wiped tears as he continued. Everything goes to you. The house, the lake property, my firm's holdings. Marissa gets a small stipend, enough to live on, but not enough to maintain her lifestyle. And she has 30 days to vacate the house from the reading of this will. Orlando paused the video. There's more, but we should discuss the immediate steps. Marissa will fight this, I said. She'll try, and lose. He pulled out another document. Your father was very thorough in documenting her indiscretions. But here's what you need to know right now. Legally, everything is yours. She has no claim beyond the stipend. When will she find out? I'm calling a formal will reading next week. All interested parties will attend. He hesitated. There is one more thing. A special clause your father added. It's unusual. What kind of clause? I can't tell you yet. Your father was specific about the timing. He checked his watch. But trust me, it's worth the wait. I sat back, mind spinning. So, all this time, your father was playing a longer game, Orlando finished. He wanted to give Marissa enough rope to hang herself, and from what you've told me about the trash bag incident, she's done exactly that. What do I do now? Nothing. He smiled. Go home, to your cousin's place. Don't contact Marissa. Don't respond to her messages. Just wait for my call about the reading. As I stood to leave, he added, Oh, and Vivian, your father asked me to give you this. He handed me a small key. It's to his private safe at the bank, not the one at home. Everything important, your documents, your mother's jewellery, family photos. He moved them there months ago. I clutched the key, fresh tears falling. Even then, he'd been protecting me. One last thing, Orlando called as I reached the door. That video we watched? There's a second part. The part where your father explains exactly why he cut Marissa out. We'll save that for the reading. His eyes gleamed. I think you'll find it very interesting. I left his office feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Dad hadn't abandoned me. He'd been fighting for me, right until the end. And in 1 week, Marissa would learn exactly what she'd lost. I can't believe you talked me into this, I whispered to Noelle as we walked into my old house. Marissa's casual wine gathering was in full swing, the living room packed with her social circle. Know your enemy, Noelle whispered back. Besides, your Aunt Christine invited us. Marissa can't kick us out without making a scene. Christine, Dad's sister, had been distant for years, another casualty of Marissa's influence, but she'd reached out yesterday, insisting we come tonight. You need to see this, she'd said cryptically. Now I understood why. Marissa was holding court in the centre of the room, wine glass in hand, wearing my mother's vintage Cartier watch. Victor would have wanted the house updated anyway, she was saying to her rapt audience. All those old family photos, that dated furniture, it was so depressing. I'm thinking of turning his study into a yoga room. Breathe, Noelle gripped my arm. Christine appeared beside us, eyes sharp. Perfect timing, girls. The show's just starting. What do you mean? Watch Margaret over there. Christine nodded toward a blonde woman near Marissa. She's been dying to spill something all night. As if on cue, Margaret's voice carried across the room. Oh, Marissa, I meant to ask, wasn't that you I saw at the Grand Hotel last month? With that young man? The room quieted. Marissa's smile froze. I was there for a charity meeting, she said smoothly. Lots of people were there. Must have been my mistake then. Margaret sipped her wine. Because this woman was definitely intimate with her companion, in the lobby. And Victor was in the hospital then, wasn't he? The silence was delicious. How dare you, Marissa hissed. I was faithful to my husband until the day he died. The day he died? A new voice. Thomas, Dad's old business partner. That's an interesting choice of words, considering what I saw 2 weeks before the funeral. Marissa's face went white. Noelle nudged me. Check your phone. I pulled it out to find a link she'd just sent. Security camera footage from the Grand Hotel, dated 6 weeks ago. There was Marissa, pressed against a wall by a man at least 15 years her junior. His name is Aaron, Noelle whispered. I did some digging. He's 27, has a record for fraud in Florida, and suddenly came into a lot of money last year. My mind flashed to all those late-night calls Marissa took while Dad was sick. The mysterious bank transfers I'd glimpsed on their shared computer. There's more, Christine murmured. Watch this. She walked over to Marissa, voice carrying. You know, I was going through Victor's things yesterday. As his sister, I have that right, and found something interesting in his study. Marissa's wine glass trembled. You had no right to... His journal, Christine continued. The entry from March was particularly enlightening, about seeing you with a young man at that same hotel, about the money missing from his personal account, about how he'd already contacted his lawyer. The room erupted in whispers. Marissa's carefully curated social circle was crumbling in real time. You're all vultures, Marissa snapped. Victor left everything to me, everything, and none of you can change that. Actually, Christine smiled, the will reading is next week. Shouldn't we wait to see what Victor's final wishes really were? Marissa threw her wine glass. It shattered against the wall. Get out! All of you, get out! As the crowd hurriedly dispersed, I stayed rooted to my spot. Marissa finally noticed me. You, she snarled. You did this. No, I said calmly. You did this. I'm just watching. The will is being read next week, I finished. I look forward to seeing you there. Outside, Noelle was practically bouncing. Did you see her face? And I have so much more on Aaron. Want to know where the money trail leads? But I was watching Christine, who looked grimly satisfied. Did Dad tell you? I asked her. About changing the will? No, she said. But I knew my brother. He would never leave you with nothing. And Marissa? She smiled coldly. She forgot the first rule of gold digging. Make sure your secrets stay buried deeper than your husband. My phone buzzed. Orlando. Everything's still on track for next week. Bring Christine to the reading. You'll want her there for the video. The video? Christine asked when I showed her. Dad recorded something before he died. Apparently it's quite revealing. Good. She hugged me, the first time in years. It's time everyone saw Marissa for who she really is. Walking to our cars, I looked back at the house. Through the window, I could see Marissa pacing, phone to her ear, gesturing wildly. Her perfect world was cracking, and the will reading would shatter it completely. Orlando's conference room was packed. Marissa sat at the head of the table, flanked by her lawyer and 2 friends I recognized from her wine party. Her smile was confident, but her fingers kept twisting her napkin into knots. I sat between Christine and Noelle, watching Marissa pretend she wasn't watching me. Now that everyone's here, Orlando began, we'll proceed with the reading of Victor's final will and testament, dated 3 weeks before his death. Marissa's lawyer leaned forward. We have a will from 3 years ago that was superseded by this one, Orlando cut in smoothly. Properly witnessed and notarized. Would you like to examine the documentation? The lawyer sat back. Marissa's smile flickered. First, Orlando continued, Victor left a video message to be played before the reading. If you'll all direct your attention to the screen. Dad's face appeared, larger than in Orlando's office. He looked tired but determined. If you're watching this, I'm gone, he began, and what I'm about to say will change everything. He took a deep breath. 6 weeks ago, I discovered something that broke my heart. Not just the affair. Yes, Marissa, I knew about Aaron, but the systematic way you isolated me from my daughter, my sister, my friends. Marissa shot to her feet. This is ridiculous. He was confused. Sit down, her lawyer muttered, pulling her back. On screen, Dad continued. I saw the bank statements, Marissa. The transfers to Aaron's account. The hotel receipts. But worse than that, I found your emails. The ones where you plotted to turn me against Vivian. Where you laughed about it with your friends. The room was dead silent. One of Marissa's friends slipped quietly toward the door. So I made changes. The will you're about to hear leaves everything to my daughter, Vivian. The house, the business holdings, the lake property, all of it. Marissa gets a modest stipend for 5 years. Nothing more. Marissa's face had gone from red to white. He can't. I can. Dad's voice grew stronger. And to ensure there's no question of my mental state, he held up a paper. This is my most recent medical evaluation, dated 2 days ago. I am completely lucid and capable of making these decisions. Orlando paused the video. Shall I continue with the reading? This is fraud, Marissa's lawyer tried. We'll contest. On what grounds? Orlando smiled. The video? The medical records? The witnesses? Or perhaps... He pulled out a thick folder. The evidence of your client's financial misconduct while acting as power of attorney? Marissa stood again, shaking. You have no right. I have every right, I said, finding my voice. Dad gave me every right. Now sit down and listen. To my surprise, she sat. Orlando read the will methodically, each word hammering home Dad's final decisions. The house was mine. The lake property was mine. The business shares were mine. Marissa got $2,000 a month for 5 years, conditional on her leaving the house within 30 days. This is impossible, she whispered. He promised me everything. No, Christine spoke up. You convinced yourself of that. Just like you convinced yourself no one would discover your boyfriend, or your theft, or your lies. One final item, Orlando said. Victor left a sealed letter for Vivian, to be opened only after the reading. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a single page in Dad's handwriting. Dearest Viv, if you're reading this, justice has been served. But remember, living well is the best revenge. The lake house has one condition. Use part of its rental income for charity each year. Rise above the darkness Marissa brought into our lives. I'm sorry for the years I lost with you. I hope this helps make things right. All my love, Dad. I looked up to find Marissa staring at me, her mask completely shattered. You have 30 days to vacate the house, I said quietly. I suggest you start packing. She lunged across the table, scattering papers. You little bitch! You turned him against me. You... Her lawyer grabbed her arms, pulling her back. That's enough. We're leaving, now. As they dragged her out, her screams echoed down the hallway. I'll fight this! I'll take everything! Well, Noelle broke the silence. That was dramatic. Orlando gathered his papers calmly. The security cameras caught all of that, by the way. Excellent evidence if she tries anything foolish. Christine squeezed my hand. You okay? I nodded, touching Dad's letter. Yeah, I think I am. Outside Orlando's office, the sun was shining. Somewhere across town, Marissa was probably already plotting her next move. But for the first time since Dad died, I felt at peace. He'd kept his promise. He'd made things right. She's still in the house, Christine reported, peering through the front windows. And she's redecorating, like she thinks she's staying. 2 weeks had passed since the will reading. Marissa had ignored the 30-day notice, refused certified letters, and was now apparently painting the living room hot pink. That's Dad's favourite armchair, I said, watching her workers haul it toward a dumpster. The one he used to read to me in. That's it. Christine pulled out her phone. I'm calling Orlando. While she talked to the lawyer, Noelle showed me her laptop. Found something interesting about Aaron, Marissa's boy toy. He's been busy since the will reading. The screen showed security footage from 3 different ATMs. Aaron, withdrawing maximum amounts from what looked like multiple cards. Those are Dad's old accounts, I realised. The ones Marissa had access to before the estate got frozen, Noelle finished. Look at the dates. She's been funneling money to him for months. Classic fraud pattern. My phone buzzed. A text from Marissa. Hope you're ready for a long legal battle, sweetheart. I have decades of dirt on your father. Would be a shame if it all came out in court. She's bluffing, Christine said, ending her call with Orlando. But we need to move fast. Orlando's filing an emergency eviction order tomorrow morning. There's more, Noelle said. Aaron's got priors. 2 fraud convictions in Florida, 1 in Georgia, always targeting wealthy older marks through their younger wives or girlfriends. I remembered Dad's last month, how he'd mentioned seeing something that changed everything. The attic, I said suddenly. Dad's old office was up there before Marissa made him move downstairs. He kept journals. We can't go in while she's there, Christine warned. No, I smiled. But you can. You're still listed as emergency key holder from when you house sat last year. The alarm company never updated their records. 30 minutes later, Christine walked boldly through the front door while Marissa was berating her painters in the kitchen. She emerged 15 minutes later with a dusty box. Back at Noelle's apartment, we went through Dad's old journals. Most were business notes, architectural drawings, daily schedules. Then we found the last one, dated 2 months before his death. Saw M with young man at Grand Hotel. Checked credit card statements. Multiple charges there over past 6 months. Called bank. Large transfers to unknown account. Time to talk to Orlando. The next entry was shorter. Found emails between M and someone named Aaron. They're laughing about me, about how easy it was to isolate me from Viv. Playing recordings for Orlando tomorrow. Recordings? Noelle grabbed her laptop. Wait, Dad had a home security system with audio, didn't he? In his study, I nodded. Marissa never knew about it. He was paranoid about corporate espionage. Which means... Noelle typed rapidly. If he backed everything up to his cloud account... My phone buzzed again. Orlando. Emergency eviction granted. Sheriff serving notice tomorrow 9 a.m. Be there with locksmith. I forwarded Noelle's findings about Aaron and the ATMs. His response was immediate. Sending to fraud investigation unit now. Don't warn her. Another text arrived, this one from an unknown number. Hey, this is Aaron. Marissa said you're trying to screw her over. Back off, or things get ugly. Forward that to Orlando, Christine said. It's witness tampering. Already done. I looked at the journal in my hands. Dad knew. He knew everything. He was just waiting to gather enough evidence. And now we have it all, Noelle said. The fraud trail, the affair evidence, the threats. My phone rang. Orlando again. Vivienne, just got word from the trustee board overseeing your father's investments. They're launching a formal probe into Marissa's financial activities while she had power of attorney. Might want to warn your aunt. Investigators will be visiting the house tomorrow after the eviction. I looked at Christine and Noelle. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. Very, Christine smiled grimly. Want us there with you? No, I said, thinking of Dad's letter about rising above. I need to handle this myself. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept reading Dad's final journal entry. My biggest regret isn't the cancer. It's the years I lost with my daughter, because I believed Marissa's lies. But I'm fixing it now. Everything goes to Vivienne. And Marissa, she'll learn that karma doesn't just knock, it kicks the door down. Tomorrow, that door would finally break, and Marissa would learn what it felt like to be the one thrown out. The sheriff's deputy handed Marissa the eviction papers at exactly 9 a.m. She stood in the doorway, still in her silk robe, mascara smeared from the night before. This is ridiculous, she sputtered. I'm the widow. This is my home. Not according to the court order, ma'am, the deputy said calmly. You have 1 hour to collect essential personal items. The rest can be retrieved later with an escort. I stood by the locksmith's van, watching her world crumble. The morning sun felt warm on my face. This isn't over, she hissed at me. I'll appeal, Ms. Jenkins? A man in a suit approached, flanked by two others. "I'm Detective Morris, Financial Crimes Unit. We need to discuss some recent ATM transactions." Marissa's face went from red to grey. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Perhaps Mr. Aaron Sutton can explain," the detective said, checking his notebook. "We picked him up an hour ago. He's been quite cooperative." Behind them, two more cars pulled up. More suits emerged, carrying briefcases. "Investment board investigators," Orlando explained, appearing at my side. "They're here about the power of attorney issues." Marissa swayed slightly. "I need to call my lawyer." "Oh, he's not coming," Orlando smiled. "He withdrew from your case this morning. Something about not wanting to be associated with potential fraud charges." The locksmith moved past us, tools in hand. Marissa watched helplessly as he began changing the locks. "You can't do this," she whispered. "Everything I did for us, for the family." "Family?" I finally spoke. "You destroyed our family. You isolated Dad, stole from him, cheated on him while he was dying." "I loved him." "No. You loved his money. And now it's gone." Detective Morris stepped forward. "Mum, we need you to come with us. We have some questions about certain financial transactions." "Wait," she said. "Please, just let me get my things." The deputy nodded. 1 hour. Start with essentials." I watched her stumble upstairs, followed by two officers. Through the window, I could see her frantically stuffing jewellery and designer clothes into bags. "She won't get far," Orlando murmured. "The fraud investigation will freeze everything she has left." "What about Aaron?" "Singing like a bird. Apparently, she promised him a cut of the inheritance if he helped her hide money before your father died." An hour later, Marissa emerged with 3 packed suitcases. Her perfect makeup was streaked with tears. "Vivian," she said softly, "please. I know I made mistakes, but it was just survival. You understand that, right? Being a woman alone in this world." I thought of Dad's journal, of his last days trying to make things right. "You weren't alone," I said. "You had a husband who loved you, a family who welcomed you. You chose greed over grace. Where am I supposed to go?" "That's not my problem." I nodded to Detective Morris. "I believe these officers have some questions for you." As they led her toward their car, she turned back one last time. "I'll tell everyone what really happened, how you manipulated your dying father." "Go ahead," I said calmly. "Dad's video testimony is public record now, along with the recordings from his study. The ones where you and Aaron laughed about fooling the stupid old man." She crumpled then, all pretense gone. The locksmith handed me new keys. "All done, ma'am. Changed every lock, reprogrammed the security system." I watched the police cars pull away, Marissa in the back of one, her designer suitcases in another for evidence processing. Orlando touched my shoulder. "Your father would be proud. You handled that with more grace than most would have." "I learned from his mistakes," I said, "and his final wisdom." Inside, the house still smelled of fresh paint, Marissa's last desperate attempt to mark her territory. But underneath was the familiar scent of home. Dad's books still lined the study walls. His favourite chair, rescued from beside the dumpster, would go back in its corner. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Aaron, probably sent before his arrest. "Marissa says you're just like your father. Too trusting. Too weak." I smiled, thinking of Dad's final moves. The changed will, the gathered evidence, the quiet justice he'd set in motion. "She never understood," I typed back. "Being trustworthy isn't the same as being trusting. And patience isn't weakness." Then I blocked the number and deleted all of Marissa's contacts. It was time to make this house a home again. Time to honour Dad's real legacy, not the money or property, but the lesson he'd learned and passed on. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served with quiet dignity and perfect timing. The autumn breeze rustled through the lake house trees as I placed fresh flowers on Dad's grave. Christine sat on a nearby bench, giving me space while I read his journal one last time. "You'd be proud," I said softly. "The house is back to normal. Your study is exactly how you left it, minus Marissa's attempt at a yoga room." My phone buzzed. Orlando with an update. "Marissa took a plea deal. Fraud charges, 2 years minimum. Aaron got 5 for his prior offences. Thought you'd want to know. Justice served, Christine called from the bench. Though I still think she got off easy. I traced Dad's name on the headstone. The money she stole is being repaid? That's what matters. Speaking of money, Christine joined me, holding an envelope. Orlando asked me to give you this. Said it was the final clause of the will, the one he couldn't reveal until everything else was settled. Inside was a deed to the lake house and a letter. Dear Viv, this place holds our best memories. Before Marissa, before the distance, when it was just us watching sunsets from the dock. I'm leaving it to you with one condition. Use part of its rental income to help others. Maybe someone else's daughter won't lose years with her father if she has the right support. I know you're angry at Marissa. I was too. But don't let that anger define you. Let this place remind you that even broken things can be beautiful again. Love, Dad. Christine squeezed my shoulder. He always loved this place. Remember the fishing trips? Remember how he couldn't cook the fish, so we always ended up getting pizza? We laughed, the sound echoing across the lake. From somewhere nearby, a loon called back. I've been thinking, I said, about the rental income clause. What if we turned part of the lake house into a retreat? For families dealing with terminal illness. Give them time together before... Victor would have loved that. Christine wiped her eyes. Need a business partner? My phone buzzed again. Noelle this time. Found something interesting in Marissa's old papers. Letters from other wealthy widowers she'd targeted before Dad. Want me to send them to Detective Morris? No, I typed back. She's facing enough karma already. The sun was setting over the lake, painting the water gold, just like when Dad and I used to sit on the dock, planning imaginary houses we'd build someday. You know what's funny? Christine said. Marissa thought the will would erase you, but it just revealed who was actually written in every chapter of his heart. I pulled out my laptop. Speaking of writing, what are you doing? Something Dad would appreciate. Remember how he always said stories should help others? I opened Reddit. I'm going to share what happened. Maybe it'll help someone else dealing with a Marissa in their life. What will you title it? I thought for a moment, then typed, My stepmother threw me out after my dad's funeral. Christine read over my shoulder as I wrote about the trash bag, the will, the justice served, about Dad's final wisdom, about rising above revenge to find purpose. A notification popped up. The lake house's first retreat booking. A family from Michigan, their teenage daughter, their limited time together. Perfect timing. Christine smiled. Want help getting the place ready? Actually, I closed the laptop. I think Dad left some old board games in the cabinet. Maybe we could stay tonight. Order pizza like old times. I'll call for delivery. She paused. You know, Victor messed up with Marissa, but he got one thing perfectly right. What's that? He raised a daughter who knew how to fight with grace, who took something painful and turned it into something purposeful. The loon called again as darkness settled over the lake. Inside the house, the old furniture still smelled like Dad's cigars and Mum's perfume. No designer renovations, no fake elegance, just real memories waiting to make room for new ones. I opened the cabinet, finding the ancient Monopoly set we'd played on rainy days. The pieces were still wrapped in one of Dad's handkerchiefs, careful and loved. Like the house, like the legacy, like the daughter he'd finally remembered to protect. Your move, Dad, I whispered, setting up the board while Christine ordered our usual pepperoni and mushroom. I promise I'll play it well. Outside, the lake rippled under starlight. Inside, the past and future merged into something new, something that felt exactly like coming home. Not to get revenge, not to prove a point, but to honour the truth written in every chapter of a father's heart, and to write the next chapters even better.